Welcome to Valcourt. It's a quaint farming village, much like any other in rural Canada, except for this town has an unusual secret. This town has a monster. Most of Valcourt's inhabitants aren't farmers at all. They work here at Bombardier Recreational Products. And for last Halloween's harvest, they pulled a beast from the ground. It's the Can-Am Spyder F3-S, a Frankenstein, with the forward foot pegs of a cruiser, the styling and horsepower of a naked sport bike, the tires of a car, and the frame of a snowmobile. Whatever this monster is, it isn't a bike. The F3S doesn't lean, it doesn't split lanes, and wedging it into a motorcycle parking spot makes me feel like a dick. But before you sharpen your pitchforks, realize that trikes have a purpose. Maybe I'd buy one because my legs can no longer support the weight of a motorcycle, or because in Quebec I only need a car license plus a 7-hour safety course to drive it. Either way, a lot of people like three-wheelers, so let's give it a fair review, eh? Kinda. The F3's heart is a Rotax 1330cc inline triple, but it only makes 115 horsepower. And I got the same from that XSR 900 I reviewed a few weeks ago, and it was a half-liter smaller. But the Can-Am dumps a meaty 130 Newton meters of torque, belt-driven through a massive rear sprocket to a rear tire wider than my head. So I still get a whiplash of acceleration off the line, and I think that Rotax dumps all 130 of its Newton meters at 4,000 RPM, because the mid-range power on this thing is insane. Now the downside of all this is that it really runs out of puff near the top end, probably thanks to that mammoth sprocket. So most of the time in that low to mid range, the trike feels very fast. But when I actually ran it all the way up 0 to 60, it clocked a rather tame 5 seconds. And of course, if you do have the time, it will get up to terrifying speeds. I mean, the gearing on it is strangely long, so I don't even need 6th gear until 140, 150 kilometers an hour, and by then, I'm getting too scared to push much further. Oh hell yeah. With 2 contact patches up front, the F3 gives an insane amount of steering feedback. I can feel every bump and groove of the pavement through the handlebars, which is an absolute joy in the twisties. In another life, I drove a Beamer Z3, and cornering the Spyder reminds me of that in the best possible way. I must say, however, that pushing the F3 is exhausting. Because it corners flat, all the lateral forces transfer to my arms and legs rather than the seat. It feels like the trike is actively trying to throw me off, and I'm using a lot of strength to fight against that. There's no rest on the straightaways either, because the trike chases every rut and slant like it has a mind of its own. I'm constantly wrestling and correcting the handlebars just to rein it in. Yeah, with 3 contact points and tailor-made Brembo brakes, it stops painfully quick. Quicker than most motorcycles, actually. Surprisingly, yeah. When Bombardier started in 1937, they made wooden boxes on tracks, produced in this old shed with manual tools wielded by local farmhands. But the F3, I mean, that exemplifies how far BRP has come. I don't know if I get the Fox podiums up front, a Sachs monoshock in the rear. I've already mentioned the Rotax engine and the Brembo brakes. And plus the supercomputer does ABS, traction control, stability control, cruise control, and an eco mode that tells me when to upshift for optimal gas mileage. And up front, it's 24.4 liters of watertight storage space. It's less than on previous Can-Ams, but still enough for one full-face helmet. The whole package comes together at 386 kilograms, which is still lighter than some Harley-Davidsons, and it looks stunning. And the visible engine is rare on Spyders, same with the exposed trellis frame. Add the air scoops and the aggressively humped seat, and you might say it's Dievelishly good looking. As in the Ducati Dievel, which Can-Am, well, they kind of copied here. It costs a whopping $23,799, but Can-Am charges extra for their U-fit alterations. So in reality, my tall man Spyder would cost over $24,000 with the long reach handlebars and the number 5 foot peg linkages that I'd need. That depends what you want to learn. And if you're really interested in driving trikes, then yeah, the F3-S is gentle enough for shaky hands. But if you want to get into motorcycling, like the two-wheeled kind, there's no point in starting here. I've actually had to forget everything I know about piloting a motorcycle to ride the F3. First off, there's no counter steering, so that literally reverses the way you'd turn a bike. Then there's the brakes, which are activated on all three wheels by a single foot pedal. I can't even tell you how many times I've grabbed thin air while trying to hit the front brake. Trail braking is different too. If you try to brake and turn the F3-S at the same time, the electric nanny kicks in and kills your exit speed. And if you shut the throttle mid-turn, it understeers like a snowplow. So that's new. I'm not saying three wheels are any harder to learn than two, it's just a totally different skill. The biggest problem is that the vehicle stability system, it can't be turned off. So drifting only lasts a few feet before the electric nanny kicks in. And cocking a leg isn't allowed either. I can only manage it for a millisecond by surprising the computer with a sudden handlebar jerk. So it's nearly impossible to ride the F3-S like a jackass. But fortunately, Can-Am is adding a sport mode in 2017. It's gonna fix that. What else sucks? The clutch. The pull is way too heavy. Although most Can-Ams are bought with semi-automatic transmissions, so that's not gonna be a problem for the average buyer. The brake pedal is straight up stupid though. I mean, if Spyders are so popular for motorcyclists with leg troubles, why not give us a handbrake? I don't understand the foot pegs either. See, the F3 doesn't lean, so I'm always pushing hard with my outside leg to counteract the force of a turn. And in that case, floorboards would have made a more comfortable anchor point. And then there's the pothole problem. See, a motorcycle only needs one smooth line, a car only needs two, but the Spyder is a 3-track vehicle, so if there's a bump in the road, it'll find it. Actually, yeah. The F3 is the best Spyder that BRP has ever unleashed. In many ways, it's what the RS and ST should have been. It's faster, it's comfier, the cup seat makes it easier to hold on to, and a forward foot peg position was always the real logical choice for riding a machine like this quickly. Trikes still aren't for everyone, and I don't know if they're for me, but I do know that I'd take that F3-S over any other three-wheeler. It's a hell of a monster, and I'm damn proud that it's Canadian.